Hi, I'm Michael Embry, and welcome to our second of 4 programs featuring the 31st Annual Kentucky Book Fair. Now, the Kentucky Book Fair will be held November the 9th and November the 10th at the Frankfort Convention Center. Now, the first day, November 9th, on a Friday, is a day dedicated to school kids. And on the following day, everybody will be there, the children's authors, the authors of nonfiction, fiction, and whatnot. Nearly 200 authors will be attending this year's fair, and as many people know, that the proceeds of the fair go to public and school libraries and also to literacy programs across the state. So it's a very worthwhile program, and whatever your purchases go, to the fair will go to benefit others around the state. It's one of the largest book fairs in the nation, and it's probably one of the oldest. As I mentioned earlier, it's the 31st annual, and we have sometimes 4,000 to 5,000 people who show up at the Frankfort Convention Center. So be sure and mark your calendars for that. Now, this year's fair features, as I mentioned, nearly 200 authors, and quite a few of the authors are from Kentucky, and we have 2 of them with us today. We have Susie Moriarty from Frankfort and Ronald Van Stockum from Shelbyville. And I'd like to thank you both for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
Well, Susie, let's begin with you first. You're from Frankfort. Are you a lifelong Frankfort resident?
No, I grew up in Louisville and moved here with my husband and children 47 years ago in the same house.
Okay.
And I've had 8 children.
Okay.
And they've all went to the Franklin County school system and lived in the same house, and I like it here in Frankfort.
Okay, now reading something about your book, your book is My Blankie, is that the correct pronunciation? I understand you were kind of motivated to write this book because of your children and I guess your grandchildren as well.
Yes, when I saw the bonding that they had with their blankies and the love, I thought it had to be told. I thought it was just a love story that just had to be told, because I think it's not like a toy. It's something they cling to for years, and it's really moving. I think it's a strong bond, and it shows, I think, how young children are when they can get attached to something, and it's just a matter of weeks or a couple of months, and they're attached to it, and you can't take it away.
I've known some families, and I'm sure you have as well, where I guess the child eventually outgrows the blanket, but the mom or dad keep the blanket and they kind of pass it on down to the grandchild. It's just kind of a keepsake, a heirloom kind of thing.
Well, in my book, I turn it into a pillow.
Okay.
So it's always there.
Is there a narrative with this then? I mean, what's the story about?
Well, the story is I'm the blankie.
Okay.
I tell how the blankie feels. I tell how much love the blankie has, and how I felt so safe with you, and how you took me to bed with you, and I wiped away so many tears, and I end up as a pillow, so that if you ever need, when you come back to see your mom, you ever need to just come in and pick me up and hold me.
Okay. Now what I assume it's for a fairly young age group then.
Well, it's also for children. I have a granddaughter who's 13, and she still has her blankie, and
Really?
Oh yes, it's very precious. You can see through it, but it's precious, and it's a strong bond. That's what I like about it. Is
it kind of a picture book as well?
Yes, it's got pictures on every page. It's a picture book, and it just kind of tells where the blankie starts from the package to being sewed into a pillow at the end. Okay. And
well, did you do the illustrating as well?
No, the publishers. Can't remember. Trafford Publishing had the illustrator, And it was kind of hard to get them to understand what a blankie was.
Okay. Well, could you explain how you work with the illustrator? I mean, what was the process from?
Mostly through the computer. They would send illustrations to me, and I would check them out, and if I liked them, and then they finally went to kind of a cartoon character more so than just a real person. And they were very good to work with. They were very good.
Was that your original idea to have kind of a cartoon kind of character that kind of?
Well, they suggested it, and I liked the idea, and I liked the illustrations. I thought they did a great job.
Now, when did you? Now you mentioned you have 8 children. How many grandkids?
I've got 6 grandchildren.
Okay.
And 1 great-grandchild.
1 great-grand. My goodness.
2 months old.
But when did you first get the idea to write? I mean, how long ago was this?
Well, I wrote it. I just said it. I just sat down at the table, and in a half an hour, I wrote the story, and then I just put it away and didn't do anything with it until last year or year before last, and then I just felt like it just had to be told. It was just strong feeling.
Well, did you share it with anybody before? Your story?
Yes, I shared it with my children. I read it to my granddaughter at that time when she was younger, and she said, "Is that my blankie?" Because she thought I was talking about her blankie, and I was talking about the blankie, and how I felt. I just felt like that the child should know that the blankie loves him as much as he loves the blankie.
And this is this your first book?
First book, yes.
Do you plan to have any more?
I don't know. I get into different projects since my husband died, just to keep me busy, and so.
Well, I guess you could probably look back on raising your 8 children. That there's probably some other things that kids can identify with that you could almost even make kind of a series if you wanted to, couldn't you?
Oh yeah, there's a lot you could write about, I think.
It's just, I assume boys and girls will like this book.
Oh yes, I also had a grandson that had a blankie, and that's the way he would look in the back seat when I would turn around and look at him when his mother would pick me up when I'd go to Florida to visit him, and I'd turn around and there would be Charlie playing peekaboo. So it's just been such a great love story that I just thought it's more than just a toy.
Okay.
It means so much more.
Did you have a blankie when you were?
No.
You didn't have one?
I didn't have one.
I guess.
I don't know if they made them back then. Not like these. These are special blankies.
Okay. Is it a kind of a tradition in your family now to give the grandkids a blankie?
No, not really. It's just that the parents got them their blankies, and they just got attached to them. And so I don't know. I just thought it was a strong bond.
Yeah. Well, now this will be your first book fair. How do you feel about?
I'm excited about the book fair. I've been to several. I met Rosalind Carter at one when it was at the library, and I've met different authors going through there, and I met Rick Pitino, and I don't know, I just found it's a great book fair. I think it's awesome.
And well, how do you feel about, like I say, you've been as a patron, a buyer,
I'm excited.
and all of a sudden you're going to be sitting behind that table.
I know. I said that to one of the ladies one day. I said, one of these days I'm going to be sitting here. Okay. So anyway, I'm excited about it. Okay. I think it's a great thing Frankfort does.
Well, I assume you're going to be there November the 9th for Children's Day.
Yeah, I'm going to do the children's book fair also.
So you're going to be a busy author for 2 days.
Yeah, that's okay. That's good.
Well, I wish you a lot of luck with that, and I hope you sell lots of books and meet a lot of
thank you.
Kids with blankies. So it's.
I'm sure there'll be children that'll see it and want it because they got blankies.
Okay. Well, our other guest today is Ronald Van Stockum, and Mr. Van Stockum has written a book called Remembrances of World Wars. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Mr. Van Stockum.
My book, Remembrance of World Wars, is an accumulation of some 41 chapters that were based on 41 columns that I have written in the last 5 years for the Shelbyville Sentinel News. I extracted from the 96 columns those dealing with World War I and World War II and the period in between. The part on World War I is based to a considerable extent upon the memories of my very well-read mother, who lived to be the age of 110 and died in Shelby County just about 7 years ago. Her husband, who was my father, was killed in the great and bloody Battle of the Somme on the 1st of July, 1916, and unbelievably, 19,240 British soldiers who went over the top on that one day were killed. Nearly 20,000 were killed in one day. So I have the story that my mother had told me, researched with a great deal of diligence into the files that are available in Britain at King's College, Cambridge, where my mother and father lived, and also from the Imperial War Museum, which has so many records. Mm-hmm. The second part is World War II, and in between, I have a section which I call Between the Wars. I was commissioned as a second lieutenant in 1937, 4 years before Pearl Harbor, mm-hmm. and so I had the opportunity to experience the typical peacetime activities of the Marine Corps in those days, when it consisted of only 20,000 men and 1,100 officers. We were a close-knit group. I had that experience, and then I had the experience of moving in as we gradually prepared and later became involved in World War II. Then in my section on World War II, I write about the early activities at sea in the Atlantic when I was aboard an aircraft carrier, mm-hmm. Just before Pearl Harbor and just after. And after that, I then go into the Pacific campaigns, which I participated in, the Bougainville operation, the Guam operation, and Iwo Jima. But I must say that in Iwo Jima, I was in command of a Marine infantry battalion, but we were not landed. Mm. But I was able to see what was going on and to be very much impressed with the tremendous accomplishment of the Marines in that battle and the tremendous losses that they took. Actually, I think that this book covers a period of time that few people can write about today, starting with the early peacetime activities in the Marine Corps and ending then with the end of World War II, brought about in the Pacific by the courageous decision of Harry Truman to drop the atomic weapons on Nagasaki, and also in the result forestall the requirement for an invasion of Japan. During my time in combat, I gained a great respect for the Japanese, courageous, intelligent, stalwart fighters. Mm-hmm. And later in peacetime, I had an opportunity to to serve in Japan and get to know the Japanese people well, and it reinforced my respect for the Japanese people, their honesty, integrity, and dependability, and as well as intelligence. And it makes me wonder sometimes why wars of this sort somehow take place where we find that after the war is over, our greatest friends had been our enemies.
Yeah. Well, you're really uniquely qualified to write this, aren't you? I mean, you served in the Marines for 30 years, as retired as a brigadier general, and you went through the ranks, didn't you?
Yes, I have a remarkable span, really, and if you live long enough, I suppose you have many things that you could remember. But a few people these days that are alive today who can describe what it was like in the early Marine Corps and what it was like coming through the wars as well. I have tried to emphasize certain individuals in my narrative. I was fortunate to serve under the command of the great hero of the Marine Corps, Chesty Puller, when he was a captain and I was a second lieutenant, and got to know him well. And also I had an opportunity to serve with many distinguished Marine officers, naval officers, and in the process, I having served so much aboard ship, I must speak in the very highest terms of the U.S. Navy. And while the U.S. Navy and the Marines have always been considered to be at loggerheads, the opposite is true. The Marines have a tremendous respect for the Navy, and the Navy has a tremendous respect for the Marines who serve together particularly in amphibious operations.
Uh-huh. I understand. Now you retired in what, 1967?
Yes.
And you went to work for University of Louisville?
Yes, I retired in 1967 and went to George Washington University to get my master's degree in administration, and in the process focused on university administration. Mm-hmm. And was fortunate when we came back to settle at Allendale Farm in Shelby County to meet the dean of the medical school, who had just been appointed, and he was looking for an administrator, and I was hired. So as a result of that, I had 11 years of most interesting and challenging experiences in administration with the University of Louisville, and in my last 3 or 4 years there, before I retired at age 65, I was assistant to the president, who was then James Greer Miller.
Okay. I notice also that you're past president of the Filson Historical Society?
Yes, I was president of the Filson Historical Society about 20 years ago, during the period that they moved from the old original facility to the magnificent Ferguson Mansion that they occupy now. And since that time, I've been closely involved with the Filson. I know the officials there very well, and have made it a point to donate my military papers as well as my wife's historical French papers to the Filson, with a feeling that much better they be there available where they're properly preserved and are available to all researchers and also to family members, rather than being dissipated amongst in the attics of the heirs.
Right. I think that happens quite a bit too, doesn't it?
It does.
And I noticed you've also written 2 other books, Kentucky and the Bourbons, The Story of Allendale Farm, which is your farm in Shelby County, and Squire Boone and Nicholas Merriweather, Kentucky Pioneers. So you've written some scholarly papers as well, haven't you?
Yes, I've written. In addition to the columns, I've written a number of articles in the Filson Quarterly, and also in the Marine Corps Gazette, which when I wrote years and years ago. The Kentucky and the Bourbons, which was published by the Filson Club, that now they call the Filson Historical Society, was a story of our farm and that one and the amazing family connections that are associated with the farm. That book was presented about 20 years ago at the book fair, and then the story of Squire Boone and Nicholas Meriwether, again an accumulation of my columns dealing with those two early pioneers, was sold at the book fair 2 years ago.
Now, with the with your columns at the newspaper, I guess after a while you said you looked at it and said, with the volume you had there, that there's a book here. Is that?
Yes, about 6 years ago, at the age of 90, I decided I still had some stories to tell, and I contacted the editor and said I'd be very happy to write a column, and he accepted the idea, and I'm really very pleased that I think probably in the next couple of days my 96 column will be published while I'm at the age of 96.
Right.
And this book is a little different. I'm rather than pursuing the serious writing about world wars and so on, I'm talking about memories that a person can have who has lived a long time, and so it's sort of a down memory lane